In the previous video, I have given you 52 beginner tips to play on Project Ascension. This was a random number, you see. That's how many tips I managed to acquire in my first week of playing. The game is centered around skills being cards, so you can imagine my excitement when I realized poker also has 52 cards. I decided to follow suit, pun intended, and share another 52 tips with you, divided into 4 suits. Spades represents beginner tips, because they literally come in spades. Heart represents skills, enchanting and gear, these being the lifeblood of the server. Club represents PvP types, game modes and challenges. Finally, grab your gold because we will talk about important items you can buy in the auction house. Check out part 1 if you haven't already. If you enjoyed this video, press the upside down dislike button and subscribe for more World of Warcraft content. Happy Halloween!
I am not a morning person.
Fine! Gosh!
I see a lot of people still asking questions about what a certain talent does and in which talent tree they can find it. If nothing else about this server, you have to agree that the search bar has been developed by NASA or something. You can search for abilities, talents, enchants, or even certain keywords in their descriptions. For instance, fire damage, or if you search for Sinister Strike, it will show you abilities, talents and even enchants that buff this ability. Let me repeat that you can also search for enchants on the auction house and make sure to buy at least rare gear so you can extract those. I was wrong about riding in the first video. You can learn riding at level 1. Don't worry if you're a new player and you cannot afford the 15 gold cost. In the future I will be making a gold making guide for new players, which will focus on selling enchantments. Subscribe if you would like to see it. Also, you can buy riding tomes on the auction house. For the 60% riding, it's really not worth it, but for the 100% riding, it costs only about 500 to 600 gold as opposed to the 800 gold riding trainer cost. I almost learned riding from a trainer until I saw someone asking for a tome in chat. With the 250 gold I've just saved you, go and buy yourself an alpaca mount. You won't regret it? Another frequently asked question is whether I should prestige or simply start a new character. In most cases, it is better to prestige because you keep the Ascension points you've acquired, not to mention getting a cool number as a character title. Most people keep prestiging until they get the exact build that they wanted, for instance until acquiring Tree of Life or Moonkin form with their supporting abilities. Then, people use Hands of Fate to fill out the gaps in their abilities, prestige a separate specialization on their character, or start a brand new character altogether. You don't even need to wait until level 15 to have powerful enchants. Buy the Iyun slippers in Stormwind for free, which are usable from level 1, enchant level 5 greens as well. Even though you can only extract enchantments from rare items, you can enchant uncommon items as much as you like. A very important thing to keep in mind is that Battleground caches only award soulbound items after level 60. This is pretty annoying because almost everything is tradable except these items. I accidentally spent 30 mystic orbs enchanting these items and then I couldn't sell them on the auction house. It would be nice if soulbound items had a red text or something. If you press N, go into your Vanity tab, filter by known, you can deliver teleportation scrolls to Orgrimmar or Stormwind. They are on a hefty 12-hour cooldown, but there is a quest associated with these, but it's pretty badly worded and outdated, so you would never find these unless previously known. Leveling professions is actually pretty convenient. You get 3 times as many skill points for each gather or craft, and you also gain experience for them. There are also artisan quests which reward you with the Ascension points and other materials. You can also just buy a profession scroll for 300 to 400 gold, which maxes out a profession. Which profession would you recommend to a new player? Maybe the normal kind of enchanting? After using Hands of Fate, if you don't like the ability you've been offered or you don't want to get rid of an important ability, you can simply press the X and forego the whole process, but this will consume the Hands of Fate item from your inventory. The sealed card abilities you've used on a character are not lost. If you apply other sealed card abilities, you will get them back in your inventory and you can send them back to your bank mule for safekeeping. I'm not sure, but I think the best way to get back sealed card abilities is to prestige back to level 1 and use the free tank or healer abilities from those starter NPCs. Make sure you complete the Specialization 1 Hand of Fate level 10, 20, 30 quests at Silas Darkmoon for some free Hands of Fate. A recent update actually broke these quests and now you are able to complete all of them for all specializations, but don't do this because the other specialization cards are not usable. You cannot delete them, you cannot do anything with them right now. You can only guarantee 2 abilities with sealed cards. To guarantee a total of 4 abilities, you need to buy golden booster packs from Silas Darkmoon for 50 gold. Don't forget that you can create a macro for targeting a Reborn Book of Ascension and setting a rate target on it to find a book even in the most populated New York Grimmar. De ezen a szerveren ugye random skilleket kapsz, és van egy ilyen csirke bagoly ember, aki íjászkodik. If you are planning on prestiging or simply leveling a lot of new characters, you can build something I call the leveling items database. This means that for every 10 levels you save a set of spell power and a set of strength gear in a bank, and once the need arises you can send this to your leveling character. Why strength and not agility? Well, I asked some people, I crunched some numbers, and the mathematics revealed that it's generally better to stack strength rather than agility. The attack power strength gives over the attack power and crit agility gives seems to tilt the scales towards strength's favor. I can imagine though that there are some builds where it's better to have more crit than damage. At the same time, remember that critical strikes deal 25% less damage against players on this server on top of the 50% less damage overall, making agility even weaker. Let us know in the comments below if you have some cool crit builds. A good way to acquire rare items for your item database is buying them for honor from the PvP vendors. You can also just use green items because you won't extract or sell these. The Warsong vendor sells weapons every 10 levels, starting from level 18, which are especially important if you are ranged or melee physical. Overall, you can have 17 pieces of rare gear. This is with 2 melee weapons or shield, and a ranged weapon. This means that you can have 1 legendary, 3 epic and 4 sets of stacking rare or uncommon enchantments, and 1 something extra. Weapons cannot have higher than rare enchants on them. This is so you can't swap in epic or legendary enchants mid-combat. This really isn't an issue because weapons get replaced the most often whilst leveling. Some items become soulbound when you put ability enchants on them. I had a heart attack when I put flame tongue weapons on my daggers and I couldn't mail them back. Don't worry, remove the ability enchantments or poisons from your weapons simply by right clicking and they will become tradable again. Frequently asked question, do you lose gear when you prestige? No. The gear will be in your inventory or mailbox. Your bank also stays the exact same. The skill cards you've used will be saved as well. What you don't get back are your talent perch type currencies and used Hands of Fate. Does Battle Stance increase range damage? Multiple people and the tooltip said yes. What's FOC and why do I need it? FOC is an abbreviation for Fan of Knives, one of the most broken abilities for dungeon grouping currently. The way you learn FOC is not from a skill card but the legendary enchant called Soul of the Warden. You can pick one of these bad boys up for only about 10 to 20 gold on a PvP trinket in the auction house. Can I have a demon pet and a hunter pet at the same time? No. Which one is better though? This really depends. All I know is that the Felstalker is great with a dot build. Its bite deals more damage per dot on the target. On the other hand, a bat can stun for 2 seconds, making it ideal for PvP. Make sure you ask someone to tank the stun for you though when you are taming a bat in Lordaeron. What's a good melee enchantment in general? We talked about Fan of Knives, but the legendary enchant Tools of War seems to be pretty popular as well. It is essentially a stacking physical damage buff the more abilities you've used. It's about 15 to 40 gold on the auction house right now. Poisons are pretty good weapon enchantments, especially for PvP, as you can imagine. You can even put instant poison on your bow, giving each shot extra nature damage. Rockbiter weapon is also very sought after. It seems to be pretty controversial whether which one of the two is better. So in general, just roll whatever race you want to roll. Don't feel the need to roll an orc for that nice fat 5% damage bonus with pets. Hunter pets have been nerfed recently, apparently. Allegedly they should be similar to Warlock pets in terms of DPS now, though Warlock pets offer more utility. This can obviously change with talents, builds and levels, so take this with a grain of salt, but my Hunter pet did around 20 to 30% of my own damage, but I only checked the numbers at level 30 without pet talents, and don't forget that you sacrifice 3 other skills if you have a Hunter pet. Also, Orc Blood Fury only increases spell damage, not healing. As you know, killing players awards a good amount of XP, but we didn't really talk about risk modes for world PvP. There are essentially 3 ways to play in the open world: no risk PvE, no risk PvP, and high risk PvP. With the no risk modes, you will not lose any items upon death. With the high risk PvP turned on though, enemy players may loot your corpse upon your death, taking random items or gold from your cold dead body. You will gain more loot and even frequent rare item drops from farming NPC mobs. To swap between risk modes, you need to be at least level 20 and you need to be near a risk changer NPC who stands next to Nosdormu. Speak to the NPC or use your general spells. High risk does not increase XP gained from mobs. In most cases, only Alliance and Horde can battle each other, however you have the chance to become an outlaw, so you can also attack your own faction. Use the Criminal Intent spell and don't go inside major cities. Kill people to keep up the effect. If you don't want to be a criminal, make sure to use the For the Horde or For the Alliance spells, so you get more materials and you can attack outlaws. As far as I know, there's no drawback for using these. Before heading out in high risk, you can protect your gear so you only lose gold upon death, but not the items. Just head to your local demonic overlord and speak into the Fell Commutation portal. It will also cost you gold to protect your items, but this is generally worth it. We didn't talk about challenge modes in the last video, so here's all I know. You can increase the difficulty of the game, and as a reward for reaching level 60, you get a free mount. You need to start these challenges at level 1 at an NPC in the starter called Stony Tark, which is a play on word on Tony Stark, the Iron Man. Iron Man mode is all about leveling alone, without outside help or XP pots. It's still quite fast to level though. If you die once, you lose the challenge and your character becomes a normal mode character. It's advised to turn PvP off, though only other Iron Man can attack you anyways. Upon completing Iron Man mode, you are awarded with a very hefty, heavy wolf. If you die in an Iron Man challenge, everyone will see what killed you at which level in World Chat. In fact, it is tradition to spam the chat if this happens. So this one time, 2 players leveled all the way to level 58 just to be killed by the Fallen Hero NPC in Plaguelands. I thought this was pretty ironic because it is technically just creating more Fallen Heroes. Survivalist mode is the same as Iron Man mode, but you can group with other survivalists. You get an evil doggo for completing this challenge, but you cannot combine survivalist and Iron Man challenges together. Nightmare mode is similar to Iron Man mode, but you can party up with other Nightmare mode players. You take 3 times as much damage, from physical and 5 times as much damage from spells.
Nightmare.
Upon completing Nightmare mode, you are awarded with a dragon that stabbed on a Lego. A lot of people combine Iron Man mode and Nightmare mode for double the rewards. In Resolute mode, you earn only 1 times experience from everything. This is considered the most difficult mode, simply because it's the longest. You do get a pretty cool fox mount and some nice gear pieces at the end. Unlike other modes, you have to not only talk to the NPC to start this mode, but you also have to use an item from your inventory. If you get bored of Resolute mode halfway through, you can talk to the NPC again and decline it. Do you gain experience from professions, PvP and battlegrounds in Resolute mode? Yes, but very little. Also in the recent update, they I think disabled Resolute modes from entering battlegrounds. This is just a general tip. If you are looking for a decent, cheap, rare enchantment, take a look at the ... forged weapon enchantments that add extra spell damage on every weapon swing, and you can have 3 of these on at the same time, meaning you deal 15% extra spell damage on every swing. There is one for every school of magic, and the arcane mana forged weapon seems to be the cheapest right now for about 10 to 15 gold. I'm sure there are way better enchants from melee Resolute mode runs, but I'm still pretty new and I like to experiment. Even though the Bloody Jars tooltip has this info, don't forget that having PvP power in heroic and ascended raids decrease your damage dealt and increase your damage taken by 20%. I don't know if this debuff is present in dungeons though. Does PvE power and PvP power do anything at all before max level? I have asked a few people and apparently they don't do anything until max level. I'm pretty disappointed about this, to be honest. Keep in mind that blood forging PvE power items to PvP power items using the Bloody Jar will set the item to be a default 12 PvP power, even if it was, for instance, 30 PvE power. Items which are originally blood forged give you more than 12 PvP power though.
Cool transmog. It was totally worth it. And look poggers.
Make sure you buy some cheap Vanity weapons at the auction house for about 1 or 2 gold, because they are much better damage at level 1 than your starter weapons. If you are planning on playing a lot of separate characters, it might be cheaper to buy a Vanity mount for 100 gold instead of many 10 gold mounts or even 100% riding mounts, because Vanity mounts are shared on your account and they are not speed capped at 60%. We started the last video explaining the spell draft deck, but did you know there is also a dealer's draft deck which lets you repick your first 4 abilities individually? For instance, if you already got Corruption and Agony but you also want Shadow Word Pain, you can reroll only your 3rd pick indefinitely until you get it. I definitely did not spend 2.5 hours doing this with a normal spell draft deck, by the way. A dealer's draft deck is about 300 gold on the auction house, but I've seen it for cheaper. We talked about transmogging briefly in the first video. If you equip a Vanity item, you will unlock it forever in your Vanity tab. Make sure you filter by known items. You can delete the item from your inventory and deliver it at any point in the future. As I said, Vanity weapons can be very cheap and plentiful, but Vanity armor, on the other hand, only typically seems to be sold as a set. Unlocked Vanity items will be available even after the season end. Just like the in-game search for talent, skills and enchants, the search under the Vanity tab is pretty decent too. Before you buy a mount on the auction house, you can preview it here. Don't forget that you can control-click an auction house item, including Vanity transmog stuff, to preview them before purchase, just like in the normal game. If you are looking to make gold by selling rare items with enchants on them, there are 2 main ways to get rare items. You can go out into the world on high risk, find a pack of mobs in a remote location and just farm them. Make sure you go to a lower level zone, so the deposit cost of the rare items is not too expensive for you. Another way is to simply buy PvP trinkets for 47 silver each, enchant them and sell those. A lot of people, including me, actually prefer this method. It only costs a flat 1 silver to deposit these items up to 48 hours, and new characters can use these PvP trinkets as early as level 15, so people prefer to buy these. Are the custom druid forms you buy off of the auction house permanent? Again, any vanity items you've actually used are permanent. It's not enough to transmog with them, you have to actually right click and use these. You know that items are vanity because their text color is beige. You can buy a travel permit on the auction house, which teleports you between starter zones so you can level wherever you want. It costs about 400 to 500 gold. To unlock all the flight paths on Azeroth is about 70 gold with the Feather of Azeroth. You can buy a permanent Mystic Altar for like 500 to 700 gold. It still has a half an hour cooldown though. Every character gets a non-permanent Mystic Altar in their mail at max level. Just use these because they disappear after some time anyways. People will be happy. I know I said before that it is better to prestige characters instead of creating new ones, but there is one argument to be made for it. There are 3 daily quests which offer you enchanting rewards for Ascension points. 2 of these are at Nosdormu, and another one is at this Hive called Syrian Azure Sign. These quests are faction locked only, so you can complete these dailies twice. Once on a Horde and once on an Alliance character. As I mentioned previously, I found these quests to be a good way of making gold by selling enchantments. If you want a cheap but semi-useful mini-pet, you can buy Kant for only about 4 gold, who can transmog for you on the go. The Book of Artisans, which is a portable professions trainer, is about 70 gold. You might have also heard about Conquest of Azeroth, the sister server to Ascension. You can play as many custom classes, and you can unlock the alpha access to that server with an item which costs about 1500 gold on the auction house. Thank you for watching part 2 of my Ascension guide series. This episode actually took me about 3 weeks to do, simply because, as you probably have seen from some of my answers, I'm still learning how to play on this server. I had to rewrite my tips many times. I even had to re-record it about 3 times. I hope in the future you will join me when I will give you some tips for playing on Resolute mode, as well as teach new players how to farm gold from selling enchants on the auction house. This has been 2Siders, and I shall see you in the next one. Peace.
What brings you to visit lonely old one Sandy?